Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous Podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
Welcome to Potentially Dangerous, episode 125 here from IA Wrestle. Guys, I'm Tony Hager, Lars Underbakke here live. Been going here now a couple weeks in a row, and with a state wrestling tournament coming up around the corner, what better way to post things about the state wrestling tournament, bring light to upsets, upcoming matches. So we maybe might be able to flow into the NCAA tournament. We'll see. We've had a lot of good little interactions with everybody here as this podcast has been going live. So we appreciate everybody on the Facebook feed. Tonight, you can comment in the comment section. You got a question, you got a tip, comment in the section, and we'll get it up. If you're listening to the podcast, as of Wednesday, make sure you join us on live if you want to get your questions asked. You can hit us up on Twitter at Hager Tony, at Lars IA Wrestle. But Lars, big weekend, CIML, conference tournament action. What did you kind of see around the state of Iowa this past weekend?
Yeah, always conference weekend's always fun. Didn't make CIML this year, but was kind of following along at home. Was able to get on Big Ten Network, watch Ohio State versus Michigan, which was a good duel. And then you had Iowa and Illinois. So got to watch a lot of wrestling there. All the conference tournaments happening Saturday, trying to follow Iowa USA Kids State on Sunday. I was hoping to go. I had plans to take my son, and he got strep throat last week, so was at home Sunday, but trying to follow along. We had some kids from the club there that he goes to, and different kids, and all the kids that I've watched for all these years, and trying to figure out how they'd all do and stuff. So it was kind of fun to follow along and see it. Even though I wish we would have been there, but get them healthy, and we got districts for AAU coming this weekend. So
where do you guys head?
We're in Bettendorf.
So they've been, the Iowa USA Wrestling Tournament has continued their success, that folk style tournament here, with the numbers, I guess. I'm expecting big numbers, AAU. Is this a testament of just, these tournaments getting bigger, being around, in these venues, or you think wrestling is growing and more kids are competing? What's kind of the reason why you think, I guess?
It's a little hard to judge. I hope to God it's because wrestling's just growing, but I think part of it too is, in some ways social media and marketing and stuff. I think they're getting the word out better to a lot of kids. Kids know about it more, and they get more love for doing well at these tournaments, stuff like that. So the kids want the recognition. So if they know that if they go win USA State, it's a really big deal, then, it's going to become a big deal to them too. They want their name on the lights, and on the internet, stuff like that. So I think kids like the hype. I think that's helping grow it. USA, AAU are all doing a good job of trying to get their names out there, trying to get these tournaments out there, let people know about it. So I think that's helping quite a bit.
The districts coming up for AAU, I'm interested to see the numbers. Last year, they added some weight classes, so obviously the numbers were bigger. The state wrestling tournament, the opportunity to wrestle at Wells Fargo Arena, it's pretty hard to pass up that, for these young kids. Used to go to Cedar Rapids, now it's at Wells. It's just a heck of an experience for these young kids to, when they're hopefully going to be at that point in high school. So it gives them opportunity, and the girls too. Right now they have a girls' state tournament at a high school gym. But this is an opportunity for them to wrestle at Wells Fargo too. So this is an opportunity girls that don't have to qualify. They can get right in, get registered. So that's positive for the girls' side of wrestling.
Well, plus it's all age divisions, so it's cool for the younger girls too to be able to be in the same arena as the older girls, Like I said, we mentioned a couple weeks ago, last year when Felicity Taylor wrestled, all the young girls were able to watch her and be around the mat. I expect some of that again this year, when some of the bigger names are out there. It's neat for these girls, that maybe look up to all the girls that they watched win state titles a couple weeks ago, and to be on those same mats in that same arena. I think will be a really cool experience for them too, which will just help it grow.
So I want to get this out of the way. We're almost to the end of we are in the season for high school wrestling for us. We've got no other tournaments that we're planning on streaming before state wrestling tournament. We will be at Ankeny Centennial this Thursday for that duel. So that'll probably be our last duel. We might do a regional depending on kind of pairings and matchups, but likely it'll be the last for high school wrestling. We'll have the AAU state tournament streaming. We'll have Twin Rivers Girls Nationals, those duels. We'll have the middle school national duels, and then we'll have War West Gym as well on the season pass. So promo code if you're gearing up for the state tournament, want to watch some of your matches, want to watch some of your competition. Promo code for the iWrestle Season Pass. You can go to iWrestle.com, click on streaming. The promo code is IAWCoaches when you go to checkout. Right now it's $65. It's $15 off. We don't have a lot of the promo codes, so if you don't get in early, I don't want to say the number I've got left, but I've got less than 20 left. So I haven't put this out on social media. This was only for the high school coaches only, that we were allowing this to happen at the beginning of the year, but we've got about 15 left for my numbers here. So IAW Coaches, you get $15 off that, and anybody can do that. We were only going to do it for coaches, but now end of the season, so if you want to go back and watch those matches, that's available. All right, Lars. There is an article out there that I never thought would be published in the state of Iowa. I asked you about it before we went live. You haven't seen it, so this is going to be interesting to see your reaction, because I have seen it, read it, I've seen comments on Facebook, and I didn't tweet it out last night, didn't tweet it out today for this reason, because I wanted to get your reaction. Maybe the people watching our stream, let me know what they thought. So, I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit. It's a little article. It's kind of an opinion. Her name is Dana King. She's with the Newton Daily News. And you can just search, the article name is called Get Off the Mat. Get Off the Mat. Okay? So that first struck, why is someone saying get off the mat? Okay. I'm going to read this thing. So in case people don't want to do this. It starts, Dana King. My 6-year-old grandson Reed loves sports. Most sports, some sports. His parents have made sure to allow him the opportunity to try a variety of options. He doesn't like basketball. He loves football. He likes soccer. He says he doesn't really like baseball. I think that's simply because his mom didn't sign him up for it last summer. And for the St. Louis Cardinals loving family, that's a tough pillow to swallow. As of last weekend, we were told he hates wrestling. Okay, I'm not really sure where this was going at this point, all right? Okay, article goes. I personally despise the sport. When I was in high school, the wrestling coach was demonstrating a hold on one of my classmates during practice and broke his neck. Okay. It was an accidental and terrifying event, which it turned out okay, but my classmate spent several months in a halo. I vowed then and there I should ever have my sons of my own they wouldn't be taking to the mat. Okay, Lars, I get that's a traumatic event, right? So there was a grandmother here. In November, Reed's mother registered him for wrestling. He told Josh and Kaylee, which I'm assuming one of them is her son, wanted to get him involved in gymnastics, and they looked into several programs he could attend. But I guess his mom had the final say, so wrestling it was. In most sports, young children are not only learning the very basics of the game, but also coordination, sharing, taking turns, and the idea of how a team works. Hopefully as time goes on, they realize how important it is to work with others to achieve a goal, winning. Although when that isn't the outcome, it's important they understand there's also a lesson to be learned in losing, something even adults can struggle with. I'm okay with that, all right? Good point. This is when it gets kind of a little dark here. I've done a lot of bleacher time over the past 30 years, watching 2 generations of my own family, as all 3 of my kids were also involved in athletics. I've seen a plenty of good and bad winners as well as good and bad losers, and that includes parents. I don't pretend to know anything about wrestling, but I do know there's no crying on the mat. Josh knows how I feel about the sport, so it came as no surprise when I managed to have an excuse for the first 3 tournaments as to why we couldn't attend the Sunday meets. So a grandmother is trying to find a way to not see her grandson compete. Okay. But with the holidays over, I couldn't use Christmas shopping as my out any longer. So off we went to see our grandson do his thing. The first tournament we attended went well enough. Reed won his first match, lost the second one, and came out the victor in the third. I was pleased to see he was gracious winner, but I can't say the same thing for his unsuccessful match. Once he lost, he curled up on the mat and shed some tears. His fan base, us grandparents, and his parents pleaded with him to get off the mat. We all explained how proud we were to just watch him try his best, but we can't cry on the mat. However, once he stood on the podium and received that second place trophy, he could do nothing but smile. Okay, so then she goes, so on anyway. Last weekend, he had another tournament, and since I haven't come up with any fresh ideas to get us out of it, we went to watch him again. It did not go nearly as well. He lost his first 2 matches, and again, there were tears and a lot of sulking. But the opponent in his third match was, wait for it, a girl. We should have just left the building at that point because he had himself so worked up at the thought of wrestling a girl. That match was over before they even shook hands. Of course, there were tears on the mat again because nothing is more humiliating to a boy than losing to a little girl. You see, when your 6-year-old boy, even touching a girl is gross, let alone wrestling one. I have a feeling he'll change his mind someday. That's how the article ends. Okay, so there's multiple reasons why I have a problem with this, and it's an opinion. Clearly, I don't know if I didn't do any research to see if this is just some random article a lady got to post, but it says column on NewtonDailyNews.com. Man, if I wrestled or baseball or had an art show or chorus or something, man, my grandma, my mom told them about it, she showed up.
Right.
I mean, finding ways not to go because you don't like wrestling, that is like, how old this lady's older. I don't know how old, but that's just such a ridiculous way of thinking. I'd be embarrassed if I'm the family. That's my mom finding ways, right. And then she posts it. Like, if you think this, if you think that you don't like wrestling or just support your family. Like, don't post it for everyone to see. Like, online, like, man, and then there's so many levels to that too. So he doesn't want to see his kid wrestle. And then at the end of the article, really I think she just has a bone to pick with girls wrestling boys, this is what held us back so far to this point is we didn't want to see boys wrestling girls. And I get that. I get that, right? I get people's philosophy on that, but I would maybe see this from a male perspective, but for a female to be saying, like, right. She doesn't want her grandson wrestling a girl, like, dude, take a step back. Like, this girl is trying to, find her place in this sport, have an opportunity. Again, last week, if you listen to any article or any video we've listened, these girls are gaining confidence. They're not getting bullied in the hallways anymore. They have a purpose. The only option that they've had before is basketball right now, or they play volleyball, or they go to cheerleading. So this is one other option for them. So it's just completely ignorant for this lady, in my opinion, to just put her son out there like that, put her family out there, making excuses for their kid to wrestle. And I think it's like she was okay with him winning, but when he lost, it was not okay. It's not okay.
Right. I took part of it was the whole, he was crying and curling up in the ball and blah, blah, blah. Well, to me, that gives you a good opportunity to have him learn those kind of lessons that you can learn from wrestling of, again, even like you said with the girls, confidence, discipline, like have some respect for it. You know what I mean? If my son's going to lay there, like she says, he literally was laying on the mat and they couldn't hardly get him up. If my son throws that kind of fit in the mat, I'm picking up and I'm walking him out of the gym. He's not wrestling the rest of that day because that's not going to fly. You know what I mean? I've had my son a few times where, he's lost a tough match or tight match and he'll come off and you can tell he's kind of tearing up a little bit. It's an emotional sport, but even that, it doesn't fly. You know what I mean? Like if you want to win the next time, then go put in the work and get better. It's not a matter of sitting there and crying, whatever. So I think there's a lot for this kid and this family to learn from that. The whole thing with, of all things, a girl, obviously bothers me a little bit too. I think everybody knows how I feel about girls wrestling at this point and stuff like that, but I don't even know how to really respond to that one.
And the mindset has changed. So, when I was wrestling, they are the coaches, the dads, you didn't want to wrestle girls, or it was kind of like, oh, go beat her up so she doesn't come back up for wrestling. She doesn't belong in wrestling. I mean, there was a lipstick award for kids that had to wrestle girls. That don't fly no more. That's not the mindset has completely changed. This lady is stuck in the 90s. Dana King. Stuck in the 90s of not realizing what's at stake here. There's just some things that, free speech, great, but I just feel like this should not have been something that should have been posted online. Okay. I mean, like you said, your son cries on the mat. That's something that you don't want to see. I wouldn't want to see my kid doing that. I cried. My dad always told me, if you're going to cry, cry in the hallway. It sucks losing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing that you're sad. But, I can see being frustrated with kids crying on the mat. You don't want to see it out there. But it's part of realizing that you just don't get everything that you do. You're not just going to win because you go out. My son, there's trophies in the hallway at Johnston, wrestling trophies. And he's like, Daddy, I want a trophy. I'm like, well, son, you got to practice. And you just, there's tournaments that have been around right now that at his weight class, he's like a freaking he's 32 pounds. So he goes there, he's going to get a trophy. And in the back of my mind, I'm just not, I'm not ready for him to just show up to that tournament, whether he loses every single match and he gets a trophy. I'm not okay with that right now. I'd be okay with him going out there and losing, and at the end of the day, we go home and we all right, son, what did we learn today? We learned that losing sucks, right? What are we going to do to not make it feel like this again? And we have to practice. You have to go to practice. It's just not going to, it comes naturally to some kids. There's some kids at first grade that are just dominating kids, which is mind-boggling to me, but it's happening. So this topic is something that I didn't think that I would ever see in 2019. with all of the good press that's going on with girls wrestling, getting their opportunities, and then this lady posts this. dking at shawmedia.com if you want to reach out to her. And the Newton Daily News. I don't see how they could post something like this. Any sport. I mean, wrestling is because, we're obviously talk wrestling. So this is to us. Like, if this happened in football or had to basketball, it's the same thing. Like, you don't want to support your grandson? Like, this is freaking crazy, right, man. I'm rambling right now because I've been frustrated by this lady, and hopefully this article is going to come to light. I mean, it got posted by Julie Johnson on Facebook. I saw her post that, so I've kind of been biting my tongue all day here to see this. So,
well, like the Newton paper actually does a pretty good job covering wrestling. Troy Hyde's a real big proponent of wrestling and covering Newton and PCM and all these schools and all that. So just kind of weird during season and you're going to post an article like that that's almost anti-wrestling and just seems really strange to me. But
it's 100%. Like 100%. Get off the mat is the title. Like, I mean, I know we had, like, in high school we had those teachers that didn't like the wrestlers because of one way or another. They got that stigma. Oh, they're dirty. They've got ringworm. They're not smart. There's all these stigmas around wrestlers that these teachers have, and that's unfortunate. And I kind of felt like maybe that mindset has been changing a little bit because there's so much things out in the public now about what these wrestlers actually have to go through, and then this just kind of brings me right back down to, man, maybe we're just not doing our job enough to tell the positive side of things besides winning and losing, like telling the stories of our sport. And that's what's so good about newspapers, because that's it's not really our thing, but newspapers can tell those stories a lot easier than us. And I'm just kind of disappointed in the Newton Daily News at this point.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Dana King, don't show up at a wrestling tournament for free credentials at the state tournament. Troy Hyde, I'd love to hear your opinion. Troy Hyde, right?
Yep.
I'd love to hear his opinion on
Troy does a good job.
Yeah. I'd love to see his opinion on this. Another hot topic, while we're on hot topics.
Titletown.
The Chickasaws, New Hampton. State champions, they fired their head coach, Nick Hemann. What did you think originally, like right when you saw this? I mean, I think you and I talked about this possibly happening at girls' state tournament. Hadn't been out yet. We didn't know for sure, but we talked about this, that something could be happening, but I didn't know it was going to be like a firing, right? Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the initial reaction was shock. I mean, there was obviously some stuff floating out there that could possibly be going on. That's why we talked about it. Initial rumors were shock. I've known Nick for a few years, respect the heck out of the guy. I still don't know what to believe. You know what I mean? You hear different stories of what happened, what's going on. You don't know. You don't know what exactly happened in New Hampton, how it all went down. I do know some facts, relating to the situation, but a lot you just don't know. The biggest shock to me is the timing. I mean, for them to let him go, weeks before the postseason, was a real shock to me, to not let him finish the season. Again, not knowing exactly, what's all going on, but I will say from the people that I know that have went to New Hampton, we've had guys like Noah Fye and Ryan Gorman have helped us out. I obviously know Mike Blockus for years, a lot of these kids, and I've talked to some of them and nothing but respect. I mean, these kids would do anything for Coach Hemann, and he's been nothing but great to us. I know we've worked with New Hampton of streaming events last year. I've been to New Hampton for multiple events. worked with all these guys. The whole staff's been great to us. I don't know. It just came down as a shock. I don't know what happened, but I got to imagine Hemann lands on his feet somewhere, and somebody's going to be lucky to have him.
Yeah, I mean, New Hampton, Nick Hemann, from what I've seen, and what I've talked to him, we had the New Year's duels, and we bounce ideas off Nick. He's all about like promoting the sport. That's why he likes IA Wrestle, because we're a little bit different. Nick's a little bit of a different coach, so I think that's why maybe we probably get along with him. And he's always about like, let's just have a great tournament. Like, what can we do to promote this sport? We'll worry about paying the bills and all this stuff, and a huge support of the Logan Luff deal, like but also like the other side of things, like obviously we might have blinders on because we've had good relationships with Nick and the rest of the staff at New Hampton. He's the head coach, obviously, so was the head coach. So I've heard all kinds of rumors. This is state of Iowa, things can happen. Off the mat issues, family issues. Simple things like he's pushing the kids too hard in the practice room. Like, there's things that happened in the 90s that definitely wouldn't fly today. So some of these old school coaches, these parents, these kids are coming home and they're like miserable, like just so tired, and
He yelled at me.
He yelled at me. I came home one time. Speaking of yelling, came home one time from practice as a freshman, and I told my dad, I go, man, Brian Reimers, coach, he's just yelling at me all practice. Like, get off the mat, work harder. And my dad told me, he goes, if coach ever stops yelling at you at practice, then he's given up on you. He's only yelling at you because he knows you have potential, and he doesn't want you to be lazy. And kids nowadays, hell, anybody, like, I feel like the whole world is soft, bunch of snowflakes. Like, this, maybe a kid, I don't know the whole story or any story, I guess, but I know this is happening. A kid goes home, tells his mom, Coach Hemann yelled at me. He told me that I'm not fast enough. I'm fat, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And a mom or a dad goes, well, that's BS. Coach should not, your coach should not be talking to you like that. That parent now gets upset, talks to him, and why is the coach telling my son blah, blah, blah? Why is the coach making him run extra sprints? Like, we're not holding anybody the kids accountable. There are some coaches that are, but they're definitely not. I mean, we saw a kid on social media for the last 2 weeks talk down to elders on social media. No one's holding that kid accountable. Like, man, this is my experience, Lars, chime in here, but man, my dad always taught me to respect my elders, whether they're wrong. Like, if you think they're wrong, that's okay, but you shut up and you listen to them and you move on with your day.
If I'd have came home from practice and said, Coach yelled at me, my dad would have looked at me and been like, what the hell did you do? Not how dare the coach yell. What the hell did you do? Why did he yell at you? It's your fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You obviously messed up if the coach is yelling at you, so you need to do better. It wasn't going to be a go ask the coach. All these people contacting coaches all the time. Well, why isn't my kid getting a chance? Or what happened here? It's like, hey, at what point do you hold the kid accountable? Because when he gets into the workforce or she gets into the workforce and some boss doesn't think she's doing a good enough job, are the parents going to call that boss and be like, why aren't you giving my kid a better opportunity to advance in this company? Or, you know what I mean? Like, at some point, these kids are going to have to grow up. And how much are we holding them back by not keeping them accountable and blaming coaches and blaming teachers and blaming everybody else? Like, at some point, you got to teach your kid to step up a little bit too.
Are we not accepting criticism? I tell the people at Takedown, like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, I'm sure, Lars, you've been on the other receiving end of this, and anybody at iWrestle that works with me, like, I tell them, hey, like, don't do it this way, or like, what if we did it this way? Like, and if you can't handle it, then like, okay, you don't belong on the IRSL team, because
you and I have had disagreements. You had ideas and I shut you down. I mean, we go back and forth all the time, but like, it's part of the deal. Stand up for yourself a little bit too. Don't go home crying to parents or crying to somebody else. Like, stand up for yourself.
I mean, this is just and adults too are being like this too. If they don't get their way, you know, we see this in wrestling a lot. If they don't get their way, or it's not a fair shake, well, why wasn't I involved? Well, you didn't work hard enough for it. So this is a whole nother topic. We could talk about this probably for days and days and days. So these are a couple different things that have just kind of been rubbing me a little bit wrong. So Nick Hemann, I don't know, you know, hopefully this will all come out when, you know, if there's any legal issues. We can't talk a little bit about specifics. We think we know about specifics, but we don't. Anytime you're involving kids and coaches and there's any kind of gray area there, you know, we can't talk about it because we don't know. We're not in that room. We're not with the parent. We're not the family. So maybe the parent's in the right. I don't know. But, you know, we're just using this possible scenario that we're hearing and moving it to maybe like another room as well of, you know, a coach in, let's say, Ankeny or Johnston or Underwood, like being a little bit too forceful. Like, these are some old school coaches that, and this is wrestling. Like, I mean, Pablo Bassa, like, Pablo Bassa was at his practice last night. I went to Pablo Bassa's practice last night with my 4-year-old, and how he started practice was he called every kid out for crying. And, like, I was thinking, oh my God, these parents are going to be like, do not, like, I feel like they would be, like, really offended, like, don't put my kid on the spot. Like, there's 30 kids in here and you're putting my kid on the spot, like, about crying like that. But, you know, he went on to say, like, it's okay to cry, like, but, like, don't give up. Like, you can't just start crying because you're losing. Like, and it was good. It was refreshing for me to hear Pablo Bassa, like, straight up tell these kids, like, don't cry. Like, don't be, like, move on. Like, you got a whole nother match left. You got another match. Like, right now you're just trying to get better. So, like, this lady's upset with this kid for Dana White's upset with his grandson crying on the mat. Like, it's okay if they lose and win right at this point. Like, they're learning from these mistakes way longer down the road. Nick Hemann is going to end up somewhere great. I've heard of some places that, this isn't from Nick, some great places that have reached out to me that said, hey, how do I get a hold of Nick Hemann? We want him as a coach. I obviously want to know what happened. I wouldn't tell them, but we're interested in him coaching. So Nick Heman's going to land out a hell of a town. I know where he should go, but we'll see if that happens. So stay tuned to that. New rankings are out.
What a mess. No, I was joking.
These rankings didn't get a whole lot of love. Like, no one complained. Like, no one, I mean,
I think they were just perfect.
Yeah, they were perfect.
What did they have to complain about?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at the comments. I'm looking at the comments on this site, and usually it's just, maybe it's just 3A. Like, maybe I just really suck at rankings, and they just, and then they just pile on shares because they say he sucks because he's associated with me. But I mean, there's like nobody that's even like commenting on these rankings. So that means that you guys, we're getting down to crunch time, and you know, we get a better idea of where the kids are actually ranking, you know, or get a where they're actually wrestling at. That's the hardest probably part of your deal, like preseason, is, you know, we got kids that are cutting down because of the 2-pound allowance. So, you know, that's got to be tough. So putting this 2A rankings, you're the 2A ranker, right? What are some of the, you know, let's go through some of these. Maybe, like, is there any big upsets that 2A people need to, like, you know about that didn't see over the weekend?
I don't know about any crazy upsets. Kyler Fisher moves down to 182 was big news. He'd been at 95 this year, you know, coming off some injuries from football, things like that. slides down to 82, and all he does is knocks off the 1A state champion Gabe Pauley. So that was big news. He was number 2 at 95, immediately slotted him in at number 1 at 182. And then I guess you could in some ways call it an upset. Looking at the rankings, it was an upset. Will Esmoil of West Liberty took out number 1 Chase Loonsman. Esmoil actually beat him last year as well. So kind of an upset, if you're looking rankings wise. Esmoil took a couple losses real early in the year to some 3A guys. I've had a chance to watch him a few times later though, and he's on fire, man. He's red hot. He's wrestling as well as I've seen him. So he kind of took a jump up by beating Loonsman. That was a little bit of a tricky weight. Colby Toole, Joey Bussey, some guys are having really, really good years there too. So trying to figure out those top 4 was interesting as always. One of the upsets that kind of threw off my rankings a little bit was at 52. A lot of good kids there. Betterton beat number 2 Mangold. And Mangold had beat, we talked about it a little bit last time, and Mangold had beat Graff and moved up to number 2 and was doing a lot of good things. He fell from 2 to 6 with that loss just because, early in the year he had lost to Bevins from Solon. Now he loses to Betterton. So it kind of canceled out some of those good wins he had as well. Somebody had to fall. It ended up kind of being Mangold, but he might be at the 6th spot. It hurt West Delaware a little bit in the team rankings as well, but that's a kid who's more than capable of bringing home a state title as well. So those are kind of some of the big shakers. Getting this deep in the season, you don't typically see as much change.
Didn't Profit get a upset? That Carter Profit?
Yeah, Carter Profit. So Carter Profit, Charles City's been a little bit of an enigma at times this year. So a kid I knew about, he was on my radar, took a couple weird losses to start the year early on. So he wasn't in the rankings. He was just kind of floating out there on my radar, just kind of waiting. And he went and won Northeast Iowa Conference, beat the number 3 kid in 3A to win it. Had some real big wins. He's, again, another one of those kids that seems to just kind of be getting better as the year goes on. So he jumps into the rankings, again, at 152, deep weight. But, yeah, huge win for him. So Charles City, he gets in there. Garrett Jensen from Williamsburg had another good weekend. He's knocked off Meyer from West Delaware a couple times now. So Jensen jumps in the rankings. So a little bit of shake-up. A lot of it was more in the bottom half of the rankings, other than, Kyler Fisher and Will Esmoil, but kind of sorting out who we think those other guys are. A lot of the top guys stay the same, but some of those bottom guys, you had some movement in.
How about, I saw Skyler Ballard kid at 60.
Yep.
He's a senior, right?
Yeah,
at the Mendenhall. He looked like he was hurt a little bit. Has he had any big matches since the Mendenhall? Are you hearing any things about him, how he's doing?
Haven't heard much on him this year, but he's had a lot of issues in the past. He's one of those kids that's been really good his whole career, but just battled injuries left and right. He was really banged up going into state last year. I believe, if I remember right, I think he still got 4th. Committed to South Dakota State. He's a heck of a talent. He's a D1 wrestler, but injuries have always been kind of the question for him. So we'll see. Hopefully he can stay healthy and give it a good run. He's pretty clear cut number 1 for me right now at 160.
So Skyler, I'm just looking through some of these names. Coulter By, 170. What are your thoughts on that weight class right there? I mean, I've heard good things about this Mooberry kid, a sophomore.
70's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like PCM Monroe, like that's going to be. Is it Troush?
Yeah, Troush. Actually lost to Sage Walker this last week. So Sage Walker's actually still undefeated. Paul Ryan's undefeated. Walker's undefeated. Bai's only losses to Mooberry. Got thrown at Independence first tournament out of the gate. But Bai's got a bunch of big wins this year. Walker's, their schedule started off a little bit slower. He's got some big wins recent though. So kind of juggling those 3 at the top. But then you get 4 through probably 13 or 14 are all pretty tight. A lot of these guys have beaten each other. So a couple guys fell out of the rankings this week. Jackson Kinsella from Creston's another one who's been wrestling really, really well. Had some big wins, beat Dylan Koresh, who's a state place winner from Charles City, beat some other kids. So Kinsella made a jump. Wyatt Volker, freshman at 170, continues to wrestle really well. He's just kind of steadily been climbing the rankings. This is a really deep weight class. There's some other guys that fell out. Abe Michael from Makokata and guys like that I could easily see on the stand, but there's only room for 10, and it was kind of a juggling act there.
Yeah. How's Fisher been doing at 220? As far as I know, he has dealt with some injuries, and I feel like we just haven't seen the best of Fisher. Like, have you heard? How is he ready to rock and roll here for postseason?
From what I know, I think he's doing a lot better this year. He's had some shoulder injuries, stuff like that in the past, but haven't heard a whole lot that way this year. I think he's pretty well ready to roll.
All right.
He hasn't really been challenged a whole lot this year, so.
And 1A, anything else on 2A? You feel like there's 2A team race wise. So I see that PCM has been number one all year, right?
Yeah, they ran the table.
Yeah. So PCM's ranked number one all year. West Delaware, I think, still has a sneaky a really good dual team, but Union's got four ranked wrestlers, but you got them at they're at number 2 with their with how the tournament team points go. The points go like these.
Yeah.
Again, the tournament team rankings are not subjective; they're based off of how you've got them ranked. So is West Delaware a threat to PCM? They've got a lot. You get more depth, but maybe not.
They have all the depth. They took some losses in the last couple of weeks. So West Delaware was number 2. They climbed up. They were a pretty clear-cut number 2, really, going into this last set. But, a couple guys took some weird losses. And I talked about Mangles, fell from 2 to 6. Jaden Payton, I know, was really sick going into last weekend. Still tried to give it a go at the conference tournament. Took a couple losses. I'd love to factor in the fact that I know he was sick. I don't know that about every kid, so I can't use that as an excuse. Like, he took some losses, he's going to fall a little bit. So I think West Delaware's got a couple kids who could obviously place above what they're currently ranked at. So they have probably the most overall depth. I could definitely see them making a run. A team like Union, they have some sneaky kids too that aren't ranked, but they need to make sure they have a really good district at Independence. They need to make sure to get not only these 4 highly ranked guys, but how many guys can they get to go with them to Des Moines? Because if they can get, 7, 8 guys to Des Moines, then all of a sudden they got a chance. 4 guys, it's been done. Wahlert basically did it last year, but, your Centervilles and Unions and Monticellos and those guys that just have a small number of kids, how many more can you bring along to score some points to kind of help push you over that edge?
What do you think is the toughest weight class at 2A?
Are we talking deepest or just straight top heavy?
You talked about, I guess, probably the hardest to rank, but as far as
26 and 70 are the deepest. And to me, 26 is pretty top heavy. So again, Caden Loonsman is a little dinged up right now, but you have Flora, Loonsman, Hayden Taylor, one of those dynamite freshmen. Caden Kozlerich, I believe. I'll probably butcher that one. Got 3rd last year, missed first half of the season with injury. He seems to be rounding into form. Kincaid's been wrestling really great as a freshman. Hatton, Waters. Carter Logue got, I believe, 5th in 3A last year. He's ranked 8th right now. So 26 is a really good weight. That's probably one of my favorites. 52's deep, 70. There's some good ones. And then, honestly, I think the 2 best heavyweights in the state of Iowa are both in 2A. You have Trineri, and then Kobe Claiborne doesn't always get the love, but this kid's really good. He's got some big wins this year too. All the opportunities he's had, he's stepped up, and he's really good. I think people sleep on Kobe Claiborne way out there in Sioux City.
I think Claiborne, I think almost, Chineri is really good at ties up. He's really good at, getting underhooks. He's good at pummeling. He dominates people from their feet, but you just haven't, people are scared to take a shot on him. Why aren't they scared to tie up with him? That's what he's good at. He's good at Greco. Don't tie up with Spencer Trineri. Take a shot on him. Well,
I think he's too big, but
he is big. He's a tall son of a gun. But you take a shot on him. We haven't seen anybody take a shot on him and I guess be successful. So I think that might be a way that somebody can beat Spencer. But,
yeah, I think another one, actually 38 is one I should bring up too.
Okay, so you've basically named every single weight class here.
It's only 4.
Oh, okay. You named 26, you named 38, you named 45, 52. The best heavyweights are at 285. 52, okay.
You got
52 is
38. I got Jared Cadell's number 3. He's a state runner-up, man. Jack Thompson's on a tear. Olenczak's a state runner-up in 3A. Chase McLaren's dangerous. He's committed to Grandview next year. And there's some good kids here.
20, Anderlick, number 4. What would you say is the weakest weight?
There's a couple ones where I struggled to find. So, actually,
maybe a weight class where people are going away from because maybe somebody's so dominant.
95 a little bit. You know what I mean? You see guys kind of
Broderson.
going away from 95 to avoid Broderson.
Yeah.
Honestly, heavyweight. All these guys have taken some losses. Once you get past those top 4, again, I think the top 2 are as good as anybody. Once you get towards that bottom, it was a little bit of a struggle to try to figure out who should be in and who shouldn't, because really all these guys have been taking some losses. So heavyweight's a little bit rough. In some ways, same way with 6. A lot of freshmen. Some of them have been a little bit inconsistent. So I feel like 106 has been a lot of juggling outside those top 4 or 5. Really the next 5 or so have been kind of in and out of the rankings, juggling around all year, trying to figure out who's going to step up and actually do it there.
Huh. Anything else on 2A? I got one question here I want to hit on before we move on to another class. Dylan Sparks asks, thoughts on Union's 52 and 26-pounder. Do you have their information?
Yeah, 52 is Aronson. He's number 1. I talked about how good that weight was, how deep it was. Again, wrestled really well. He's only taken 1 loss. Real solid kid. Just seems to be getting better and better. Made some big jumps this year. Little disappointed we didn't get to see him and Mangold in the finals at Benton Community. There was 8 ranked kids in that bracket. Aronson came through and won it. Mangold, unfortunately, injury defaulted to him in the finals, so didn't get to see that match. But, he went on a tear, beat some really good kids there, jumped to number 1, and he's just kept a firm hold on that as everybody else has juggled around. I'm trying to think here. 26. I don't think I have anybody ranked. I'm sure I got it on my spreadsheet here if you guys could see all this.
It goes deep. How deep does it go?
Oh, man, I've got most weights. I've probably got 25 to 30 kids. Oh, Lake Laban. Yeah, I couldn't remember which weight. Yeah, Laban's one of those kids. Like I talked about, that's one of the deepest weights. 26, top to bottom. Lake Laban's a kid. Definitely could make Des Moines. I could easily see him in Des Moines. At that point, you've got a chance. You never know. He's got some good wins this year. He beat Kozarek. That was one of the big ones. I talked about him coming off of injury. One of his first matches was Laban. Laban beat him. I think Kozarek's been kind of rounding into form as he gets healthy. Been wrestling really well. So that's a little bit there. Laban's taken some losses as well. He's got quite a few losses. Most of them are to really good kids. So it's hard to fault guys. So you haven't lost anybody bad. At some point, you just got to make a decision. Laban, Cody Calvledge from Louisa Muscatine, who also got at 26 here. Keegan Sheeler fell out. Avery Abram from Osage. There's just some really good kids here that aren't in those rankings. But Laban's definitely a kid who could get to Des Moines and make some noise. And like I said, Union needs more than those 4 ranked guys, and he's one of the guys that could obviously make our little run for him here.
All right, so 2A. in the wraps, unless you got anything else. If anybody's got any questions, hit us up in the comments. Maybe we can get to it later. I want to segue into the Dan Gable Mr. or Mrs. Wrestler Award. Then we'll get to 3A. I mean, there's no new rankings this week. Maybe we can touch on 1A a little bit. I haven't looked through the rankings at all. I texted Shares to see if he was able to come on. Maybe we can get some hot takes from Shares from Shots Fired podcast, which is sleeping. We haven't seen him and Mac talk for a while, but I can't talk a whole lot of smack because Potentially Dangerous is, like 3 weeks? 3 weeks going strong? Ross Barczyk, where you at, boy? All right. So, 2A, Mr. Wrestler of the Year Award. I'm going to check on these votes right now. Flora's walking away with this right now. Almost 3,700 votes for Flora. Novsker's got 3,200. Loonsman's got 2,200. Broderson, 1,900. This thing like really opened up with Reeves leaving. I think he was the clear favorite for that. Fan vote right now is going Flora's way. See if that fan vote is gonna. People are having issues. They're saying they're having issues voting, but man, we've got 14,000 votes on Class 2A. We've got 10,000 on 1A and 10,000 on 3A. 2A is hot topic.
That's good. Everybody loves 2A, right?
Is it the weakest? I mean, it's probably the weakest class.
Whoa.
All right.
Say,
well, okay, I'm totally joking, okay? So 2A people, don't be blowing me up, all right? Don't go snowflake on me and get all offended, all right? I'm a 1A guy, man. I'm sticking up for my 1A peeps up there. So let's go to Class 1A rankings, just kind of see what we see here.
Yeah.
All
right. New number ones. There's some movement here.
All right. Don Bosco's got 12 freaking ranked wrestlers. They're really good. Like, I get this question all the time. Could Don Bosco beat Southeast Polk in a duel? No. Sorry. Like, Don Bosco's really good. 1A school, beat Waverly Shell Rock, but Waverly Shell Rock, I don't think can beat Southeast Polk. Like, I just
not in a duel. I think they'll give them some run for their money at the state tournament, traditional. I just don't think they'd beat Southeast Polk in a duel.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be a couple upsets for something to go the right way. Like, Don Bosco's a team that definitely feeds off momentum. Like, Southeast Polk expects it. Don Bosco's a team that you can tell, like, they feed off one another. Like, if someone gets a big... We saw that at Bar Waterloo anyways. That's what I have to judge it off of.
Yep.
Didn't get Don Bosco Lisbon, unfortunately, because of snow. Anyways, all right. So, 1A. Man, I'm hearing tons about this Stevie Barnes, dude. Like, people are blowing up my freaking phone. Like, well, most of them are making fun of me about Dan Davila. Obviously, 106 was my weight class. So, Dan Davila, for you guys don't know, pinned me in the finals my junior year from Underwood. Kid was like 22 years old. Anyways, but Stevie Barnes, people are like freaking blowing me up about this kid. Jameis Wilson, I think on our podcast we picked that Damon Houston to beat him. Wilson knocked him out, man. So 106 is fun for Class 1A. Garrett Funk. Garrett Funk's
don't sleep on Lopez. Marcel Lopez was actually ranked by Flo at one point this year.
Yeah.
Nationally.
Doesn't always people say, like, 106 is the weakest weight class?
Some people say that. I think part of that is just because it's a lot of times freshmen. You don't see too many little guys like you that can wrestle it as a senior. You and Jameis.
I'm just waiting to see what people are going to say. People don't give a shit about 106. 106 strong, baby. Now I'm like 150. So, all right. Okay, 106, 113, freshman, Logan Magnolia, Hagen Haston.
New number one.
Knocks off
Paul Klingensmith. So I think it was like the night we put out our last set of rankings. I think it was that night he knocks off Klingensmith.
Wow.
Obviously, we didn't have it in there, so
Yeah.
we had to wait till this one to get him to jump up. But
freshman,
real tough
113,
kid.
Yeah, only freshman in the top 5 by shares in Class 1A. Allard, Kimball, man, Allard. I want to see that. I kind of want to just see that matchup at War at West Gym, but man, Allard impressed me at War at West Gym. That's gonna be a tough. I think that's a toss up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a fun matchup. Same thing, Kimball. I always question, he was so small and looked so skinny, but every time I watch him, he continues to impress. Watching him beat Gino Bana at Benton this year, he looked great. I'm high on both of them. I think it would be a really fun matchup. I hope we can make it happen. Hopefully they meet in the finals in a really good match and we get the rematch.
Let's do it. All right. So 26, everyone's talking about Avila, Lisbon, another freshman ranked number 1 here. Cassidy, I have liked him, but hasn't been able to put it together at the state wrestling tournament.
Ryer Rees, another one.
Trey Shuck, man, that's our guy that should be number 1, right? Shout out to the Shuck family. Shout out to the Shuck family. They know what we're talking about. All right, so 26, Happel Lewis, Tibbetts, Easton Larson,
Logan James. This is a good weight.
Yeah, this is a fun little weight class. I mean, when Happel and Avila, they said, like, hey, look, we're gonna flip flop. Like, I was almost like, man, I mean, Happel's definitely not like going away from competition, right?
No.
I mean, 32 is a deeper weight class than 26, in my opinion. From what I know. I mean, I'm not crazy into 1A, but like 32 is definitely deeper, from my opinion, from my perception, than 26. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I say, I think there was a couple of really good kids, 26. It's a good weight, but 32, I mean, I think if you would have said when he was a freshman that Josh Tibbetts wouldn't have a state title, most people would think you were crazy. And there's a very realistic possibility he never wins a state title. Gabe Lewis has been a kid that's been on everybody's radar. Super dangerous kid. You can never count him out of a match. McBride's been good. Logan James, last year I was super high on him. Maybe didn't have quite the state tournament that we thought he would, but James is dangerous. Larson, Moyer, Noonan. Nolan Noonan's seems like been around the last 4 years. We've been high on him as well, and he hasn't quite reached his potential, so.
Noonan. I love just seeing that name coming up in the rankings in our text message. Anyways, okay. Side point. All right. Sorry to get you off your spiel there.
So with this being seeded, I'll be interested if Lewis and Tibbetts are 2-3. I think that one's fireworks. I think that's a fun match if they meet in the semis.
Yep. The seeding will be crazy at some of these weight class. Another freshman from Underwood, Nick Hamilton. That people are way high on him. That's definitely going to be, I think, like if I was going to write an article on who's to watch at the state wrestling tournament that you maybe not have heard of, Nick Hamilton's one of those kids, just from what I've been told of who he's working out with out there and some of the people that he's beat, how he wrestles in the room. Like Nick Hamilton's another guy from Underwood that people need to be on alert for. Yeah,
I think I talked about him at length here a few weeks ago as well when we were talking about the freshman class. Hamilton's really good. Kobe Seabrook's on absolute tear this year, so I don't know Hamilton quite catches that one, but I really think those are your two guys. Frost is good, Lundquist, a few of them, but I think Hamilton's the guy that's going to meet Seabrook Saturday night, and we'll see what the freshman's got in him.
What about Pauly at 82 going down? I've heard a little bit about kind of how the match happened. Have you heard anything about it at all?
Yeah, from what I was told, he basically didn't know he got hit with a stall call in the third period. I haven't seen any video or anything like that. Seems a little weird. So most of the time I've been around, most refs are pretty good about, hey, you just got called for stalling. You know what I mean? That's the point. You try to make them aware of it. So I don't know if maybe there was not as much communication as there should have been, if he just was, kind of zoned out, wasn't paying attention to the ref, what the deal was. But unfortunate it came to that, according to him, he didn't know, but that's part of the deal. You got to be aware. You get tired when you wrestle. Things happen, but you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to, what's going on in the match. And if that's what happened, I mean, it stinks, but those are two really good wrestlers that I think both will be, real good chance to stand on top of the podium,
Part of me hates to see a match end on a stall point, but part of me also loves it.
Right.
Like, I love the double stall call, and I'm always like, call stalling in high school wrestling. Like, call it. And so part of me loves it, part of me hates it just because, you don't hate to see a big-time matchup like that end up on stalling. But I haven't seen the video of it, so I don't think we should be able to say whether he was or wasn't, was or wasn't stalling, I guess. So what else on 1A? 285, I literally know nothing about 285. I know Denver's got a giant 285.
Corby Keener from MFL Marmac was probably in line to maybe be the number one kid, was near the top and suffered a bad injury here about 2 weeks ago. He's out for the year, ended his career. He's a senior. So taking him out of that mix. And then Brock Farley took a loss or two here, I know, since that last set. So he drops down a little bit for Denver. But, really no real standouts in that heavyweight division. I know Bus is having a good year, but he's a freshman. Olson's been around for years, but not the deepest weight in 1A.
All right, so 1A, what do you think is the toughest weight class?
Probably 32. We already kind of talked about that. 52 is really good. Henderson, Kral, Van Ort. You got a guy like Teenold down kind of waiting in the wings as well. The 32, man, we already talked about it. Happel, Lewis, Tibbetts, James, Larson. I mean, not only do you have the top end talent with guys like Happel and stuff, but there's some depth there. I think 32 is a really good weight in 1A.
I think as far as team-wise go, just based on what I've seen off from them, super impressed with them duel-wise, tournament-wise. I think they're going to be pretty tough to beat. Denver's got some kids, Lisbon's got some kids, so I think Don Bosco, one thing maybe to watch that could maybe hurt them a little bit is they've got some freshmen that the Tenold boys, that can maybe, you never know what's going to happen with freshmen. They're either going to thrive or not thrive. What's nice about some of these, Tenold boys, they've wrestled at AAU. They wrestled at AAU State Tournament at Wells Fargo Arena. So a lot of these kids, are used to wrestling at Wells Fargo Arena. A lot more stakes now, obviously, but,
I think
Denver's
real hard to beat in a duel. From what I see, I think Bosco's hard to beat in a duel. But I think in traditional, I think there's a better chance. So Bosco's got a ton of guys ranked. How many of them are going to make the finals? I think that's a real question.
Yeah.
Denver and Lisbon both have some depth, especially Denver has a lot of depth, a lot of really good kids. They've also got some top end talent. So if all of a sudden, Kruger and Lewis and Riley Wright and Farley are all making the finals, plus you have 4 or 5 other guys placing, you're going to make a run. You're going to challenge them.
Yeah.
Same thing, Lisbon. If you put 3 in a row, if you got Avila and Happel and Seabrook all in the finals, say Quincy Happel or Cole Clark or Ryan Morfeld places high, all of a sudden you're in contention. Underwood's really relying on freshmen as well, but we just talked about them, Barnes and Hamilton and some of those guys. Weston Allen's another freshman for Underwood. If those guys really step up, you don't know what can happen, but man, Bosco's deep.
Yeah.
Bosco's really deep.
Bosco's deep. They're young. Denver's got some good, older guys that been there, done that. They just got to step up. They've been kind of up and down, some of the tournaments and duels that I've watched that I've been a part of. They're like, why, the duel The Denver Don Bosco duel, they lost some matches that they probably shouldn't have lost. So hopefully losing those matches kind of got their mind right, so that's not going to happen at the state tournament. Duels honestly don't mean anything. I think they're a joke, but so it'll be interesting to see who wrestles what. If it's any experience in the bass, 1A comes to win. They're going to come to win no matter what at duels or state traditionals. So that's why I love 1A and 2A for that matter. But 3A just they check out after if they don't win the first match. So all right, so 1A, 2A new rankings on the website iwrestle.com. Obviously, sectionals this weekend. We haven't even got new rankings and having a chance to really kind of break it down. What sectional are you going to? Which ones do you think is going to be kind of the toughest?
Yeah, I think I'm probably headed to Solon. Kind of been going round and round about where to go. I think that's a good one. You got Solon's a really good team. West Liberty's a really good team. I kind of want to see Jared Cadell from Columbus Junction, Columbus Community. Like I say, he was state runner-up at 106 last year. He's at 132. Kind of interested to see where he's at, some guys like that. Obviously, anytime you got West Delaware, those are going to be crazy. I'm kind of leaning towards going to see them at districts, though. So Central DeWitt for districts is going to have West Delaware, Davenport Assumption, and then some just sneaky teams like Vince Ellsberg's got 3-4 guys ranked. Mount Vernon's got a couple of big-time studs. Comanche's got a bunch of guys ranked. Like, that's a really, really good district. So that one or Independence is kind of where I'm leaning for district-wise. There'll be some good ones, but I think I'll probably end up in Solon for sectionals.
Okay, all right. So Solon is the one to watch. We'll have some previews or we'll have some breakdowns of some of those sectionals here. Maybe hopefully later this week. I know our 1A, 2A ranker, Lars, super busy, so we'll see what we can get out there. We will not be streaming any sectionals, by the way. We had a few questions this week. Definitely will not have any of that. So we've been talking for an hour. I went on a tangent about this Dana freaking Wire. What was her name? Dana King, some crazy lady from Newton. War West Gym. Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. We'll break down 3A next week. So if you're on this call, 3A, we'll break that down. We got regionals next week, so on the 6th, so we'll break those down. Let's see, so that's a 6.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so we'll be able to break those down. There's a couple different. I think Ankeny got screwed on their ranking.
We'll know the matchups for 1A and 2A.
Yeah, so we'll break those down. So Class 3A we'll break down next week. But War West Gym, first match announced. You had your hands on this one. Tickets went on sale on Monday. I think I based off the traffic so far, I think War West Gym is gonna. I have high hopes. I think we can sell this place out. We're gonna go. We got one girls match already announced. Announced, and we're gonna have another one coming for you too. Should we? I mean, what do you think? I mean, should we knock it out right here? I mean, should we wait?
We could. I don't have a press release ready yet, but
it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. What else we got to go? Okay, first off, War West Gym. If you're new to iWrestle, and we got a lot of new families following iWrestle, so I appreciate you guys coming along, loving our coverage. War West Gym is our postseason duel. We usually have a preseason one called Night of Conflict. Some things didn't work out this year, but War West Gym, March 16th, happens at West Gym, in between the conference college wrestling conference championships and the NCAA tournament. Corn Cob is going on that weekend, so you can not go to Corn Cob, come to West Gym. Gonna be definitely definitely better matches going on. So the first matchup got announced. Pretty excited about this. Chloe Clemens is a freaking firecracker, by the way. Chloe Clemens, state champion versus Sydney Park, state champion. Sydney Park gets her shot as a freshman at War West Gym. We don't have too many freshmen that show up at our events, but she's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, I knew she was good, and I know of a lot of her accomplishments. And then I asked her parents to send me kind of a bio of sorts, so I could put some of this together. And I'm going through it just like almost your jaws dropping of all the stuff she's done, and she's only a freshman. All these national events, Midwest Nationals runner-up, and AAU Junior Olympic gold champion, and folk style champion, freestyle champion. Like, she's done it all, and she's only a freshman. I think a lot of people knew Tatum Park, her sister, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, here comes Sydney. You know what I mean? Like, little sister's, got the resume too, and she proved it at state. She just went in and enrolled to a title at 126. And Chloe, we've gotten to know Chloe a little bit throughout the last year or two. She's a firecracker. She's a really fun personality that we can help put out there for the girls wrestling too. And again, really tough, got some really good accolades. Missed some time last year with some injury, stuff like that. So she doesn't have as much of the really recent stuff, but she came back with a vengeance this year. She rolled. She won every girls tournament that she entered this year, won state. I think it's a great matchup. I'm really excited for it. Like I said, we're gonna get another girls match in there too. So we've had one in the past. We're gonna add some. So we're gonna keep growing this thing.
Two girls matches are gonna come up. So I want to, before we announce the next one, weight wise. So Sydney's at 20 pound. No, Sydney was at 26. Chloe's at 20. Are these guys are the girls meeting at the middle, or how is a catch weight, or how this is going down?
Yep, they're going to meet at kind of a catch weight in the middle. So, Sydney was kind of in between. She was probably a little small for 26, so she's able to come down just a little bit. She is wrestling the following weekend at 26, so she didn't want to cut down. She does walk around a little bit under. And Chloe was willing to come up a few pounds as well. So in order to make this match happen, they both agreed to just kind of meet in the middle.
What I like about having the girls matches at our events is because we have the push-out rule. And the girls don't complain because they like the push-out rule. They're used to having the push-out rule. They love, the freestyle is kind of what they're used to, what they grew up doing. They had to wrestle folk style because of high school wrestling, but the push-out rule is not new to them. It's some of these high school kids do wrestle freestyle, but some of them don't that wrestle in our events. So push-out rule, we're at West Gym, girls wrestling. I'm excited to just kind of see how the lineup's going to work out. But, man, if anything is like Waverly, we could see equal amount of fans, girls wrestling fans, boys wrestling fans, pack the place, 2,000 people, proceeds go to the Panther Wrestling Club. Every year I get more and more excited about this event because it's just it's on the mat, it just has that vibe, dude, that something's going to go down. Well, big matches have happened at War at West Gym. There's been controversy with the push out, so pretty excited about these girls' matches. All right, match number 2. We don't have a press release. We weren't going to announce these tonight, but I think we got a pretty good following coming in here tonight. That let's let this loose. Let's let this one loose, Lars. What's the next matchup?
Let's do it. We talked about Sydney Park. Only thing better than one is we're going to do 2. We got Tatum Park, her sister, wrestling as well. 113-pound state champ. She's wrestled in an event for us before. She wrestled Felicity Taylor. Now she's going to wrestle Allie Gerbach. So 106-pound state champ coming up to wrestle 113-pound state champ. So we got those first 4 weights of girls for high school covered. Going down. Allie Gerbach, I think she's at times a little bit under the radar for people. She goes to a small school, maybe doesn't have some of the national accomplishments or hyped as much as some of these other girls. Man, she's tough. I don't know how much you watched her at state or how much you've had a chance to watch her. I believe she's got over 70 wins against the boys in high school as well. I mean, she's just one of those girls. She's going to get in there and scrap with anybody. Same thing with Tatum. I've had a chance to watch Tatum in practices too, where it's her and the boys. You know what I mean? And she'll come to, these club practices against these boys who are placing state, like real high level guys, and Tatum's ready to scrap. She doesn't back down from anybody. Allie's sure not going to back down from anybody. I think this one's going to be complete fireworks. I can't wait for it.
Tatum up for Miss Wrestler of the Year, so we're going to have Tatum, Allie, both up for Miss Wrestler of the Year.
And Chloe.
And Chloe. So we got 3 Miss Wrestler of the Year award. Right now, the top 7, or not top 3 yet. We're going to get there on the 7th, by the way. But Allie's got 5,255 votes. Tatum's got 4,748. Chloe's got 3,249. So the 3 most popular girls are going to get a match up at this week at the War West Gym. So, we've had girls match. I mean, this dates back to Night of Conflict, the OG, having Rachel Waters in that match where she got pinned. You remember that? Rachel Waters got pinned at Night of Conflict. Anything can happen. I think we thought she was a big favorite, right? Like, hey, we're going to showcase women's wrestling. First time, like, people don't even, a lot of people didn't even know who Rachel was. She gets pinned. We're like, oh, shit, what the heck? But, hey, that's, obviously Rachel Waters is a champion. She took it like a champ. We hung out with her family, and then she moved on from that. So, 2 girls matches. iWrestle.com. We're gonna have that. We'll probably release here tomorrow or Thursday. But tickets are on sale. You can you can find them on our Facebook too. That's probably the easiest way to find them. Go to facebook.com/iWrestle. You're already on it, watching live, so it's on our events page. You can get the tickets through there, $10, or we've got about 50. We have 50 VIP tickets. Some of them are spoken for already, but those tickets are $50. You get right on the mat. Going to give you an iWrestle hat and some stickers and maybe some other War West Gym memorabilia. So we'll find out kind of how that whole package comes together. But War West Gym Saturday night doesn't get any better than that. All right. Anything else on West Gym?
I don't think so. We got some really good guys committed as well. Haven't really set those matchups yet. Waiting a little bit for the state tournament, with the girls, it was nice. It's over for the girls state tournament, so we were able to just pull off of that. Some of the boys, obviously, we want to see how some of this shakes out a little bit as well, but we do have some of those top guys already committed. It's just a matter of finding the right matchups for everybody.
All right. We probably need to wrap it up here, but I wanted to get your opinion quick before we go. Iowa State, I think they're climbing the leaderboard. I saw they're top 15 now. Okie State, they wrestled them really well. Gomez fixed. I haven't watched the match yet, but heard it was.
John
really
Smith said that's the toughest team they've faced all year.
Wow.
I thought that was a testament too.
So ISU rolling right now. UNI Oklahoma, some big wins in there, but I think the biggest topic was Spencer Lee not wrestling at Northwestern. I know you've got a lot of friends that follow the Hawkeye Wrestling program. Kind of some conversations, obviously, that happen behind closed doors that you're privy of. What are your what have you heard about Spencer Lee? Why didn't he go? What are your thoughts on it?
I actually haven't heard a lot about this one. I've been busy at work, kind of wrapped up in West Gym and high school rankings, so I haven't really dug into it either. There's some rumors floating. I don't know what's exactly going on. I know, he had battled injuries earlier in the year, some stuff going on. I thought he was kind of over that. He looked really good against Rutgers and against Illinois. It's a little surprised. The thing that gets me is these people out there thinking that somehow Spencer was ducking him, which doesn't make any sense because right now, Rivera is the number 1 seed. The only way for Spencer to get that back is to go beat Rivera. So why would you duck that match when this is your opportunity to go take the reins back and be the number 1 guy? Yeah, he could see him at Big Tens, but I just don't think it's anything to do with that. I think there's something more to it. I was surprised to not see him go in that match, but obviously, Brands has got a plan. He's done some other stuff with a lot of these guys this year, but I don't think he's ducking that match. The one thing I will say was it's disappointing, and I think if it's the other way around, I think if that duel's in Iowa City and Rivera doesn't wrestle, I think Iowa fans are freaking out the other way. So, Iowa fans are mad because people are calling out Spencer. Think about it both ways. I think people would be calling out Rivera if it was the other way around.
100%.
It is what it is. Like, let it roll. Spencer will prove it on the mat or he won't.
Yeah, I think people are just upset that across college wrestling, we're seeing some of these matchups not happen that we thought we were going to see happen, and it's not good. But we don't know exactly what's going on behind closed doors. I mean, we're talking about kids in college. He traveled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he traveled.
Yeah, he was at Illinois Friday night.
So, I knew he wrestled Friday, but I didn't know if he traveled, he got sent home or what the deal is. So, it could be Brands just playing games, like the way that he thinks sometimes and how people perceive him and the team. Like, I feel like he's always got some kind of agenda with what's going on. So, there's got to be a reason. You could see like why Brands would maybe tell Spencer not to wrestle, but then but Spencer has wrestled hurt before, so like maybe he's been sick. I don't know. Like there's been rumors, he's hasn't been able to go past the second and third period at a high pace, so he's had a sickness that is lingering, all kinds of issues. My stance on it is, if he was 100% healthy, he should have wrestled. But if he's not healthy, then, don't go out there hurt. There's no point of risking it. Iowa didn't need him to wrestle. It's just simply, individual based where he's going to see him at Big 12s. So it's just, it's, as a wrestling fan, it's like, you got to put yourself, we're in media, so, we want to see those big matches happen. But also the fans, like, you're tuning in, you're paying to watch the streams. Like, if people travel to watch LeBron James, I think I've used this analogy too. You go to watch the Lakers, you're paying such amount of dollars to watch that game. You want to watch LeBron James play that game. And if Iowa doesn't put out their stars out there, people are going to stop like, okay, I'm just going to watch it on TV. I'm not going to risk driving to Iowa City. I'm not going to spend the money on tickets. I'm just going to watch it on TV. So it has a little bit of a trickle effect with fans. And some diehard fans have reached out to me. It's like, this is done. I'm just done with this ideal of, not these matches not happening. But, so I see that too. But, we don't know. We're not in the room. So I don't think it's fair for anybody sitting on an armchair, in their, at home on the Hawkeye Report, drinking a beer and saying what Tom Brands should do. Like, I don't think that's fair. Or Spencer Lee. Like, don't call a kid out for not wrestling. Like, we saw Sam Stoll, he wanted to wrestle that one time. Tom Brands didn't want him to wrestle, probably. He came out and wrestled. So, I don't know who made the call, who didn't make the call. But hopefully we'll find out at some point. But likely, if it's Iowa, we won't ever know. All right. That's all I got, man. An hour and 30 minutes here on Potentially Dangerous. We've got about 40 people listening, held through for the whole hour and 30 minutes. Appreciate everybody that commented on, man. This is, and we love seeing these comments. Questions are great. Just getting your interaction is good. But this weekend we got sectionals. Lars is going to be at probably Solon. I think I'm going to take the weekend off. I've got a big bags tournament on Sunday. So if you're in the Des Moines area, Super Bowl, Patriots are going to win that. Come out to Smash Park, hang out with me. We're going to throw some bags. Team Wrong Hole is looking for a big... Dude, This is a big tournament, Lars. $1,000 per person to the team, the winner.
Nice.
And like, there's like a Red Bull package together, skydiving. Like, this could be I got t-shirts made, I got hats made, so we're going to either look good losing, or we're going to have a good time having a couple cold brews, getting gearing up for the Super Bowl. So if you're Des Moines, Iowa, come on out. Love to chat with you about wrestling and little bags. Get the Super Bowl Sunday started.
Kids districts this weekend too. I'll be from high school wrestling Saturday to kids Sunday. Hopefully get to watch my son qualify for AAU state. We're taking a whole bunch of kids from the club, so wrestling.
AAU state, streaming that. Pretty excited always about showcasing the next kids and girls coming up to the high school level. So everybody I wrestle, again, appreciate it. Following us along here this whole season. Just gearing up, postseason, sectionals this weekend, districts. I wrestle gear is coming to you. People have asked. I'm delivering, and I got coats, I've got joggers, I've got hats. I don't have any money left. I bought a ton of freaking gear, so anybody that said they wanted gear, show up Thursday morning at the Iowa Hall of Pride. I'm going to be there from like 6 to 10 in the morning. I'm not going to have some kind of fancy Rudis set up. Right? I'm not going to have mannequins and stuff, and I won't have like 15 people helping me. So be patient. I'm just a dude that likes wrestling, that does it for a living. I don't sell gear, so bring cash. I don't want to deal with credit cards. Get some fresh gear. Hopefully you wear it at the state tournament. And I appreciate everybody that loves wearing it. I'm just stubborn. I don't like dealing with it. So appreciate you wearing it, supporting I Wrestle as always. For Lars Underbakke, everybody I Wrestle, I'm Tony Hager. Thanks for listening. Until next time, here on Potentially Dangerous. Next Tuesday. Want to do next Tuesday at 9, Lars? You committing? You committing?
Let's do it.
All right. Next Tuesday right here. Facebook Live. Come with us.
Know when the whistle go.